Welcome to Get Yourself Educated on Bitcoin Mining. Now, for absolute clarity, we are not claiming to be experts on this topic. We've simply chosen a different topic that is riddled with jargon to hopefully make it quite simple for you to understand. Now, many of you that already watch our channel will probably know that Bitcoin is a form of cryptocurrency. It is decentralized and it is digital. This means that there is no overarching control or central bank. It is essentially a peer-to-peer payment network without the need for an intermediary. Of course, this lack of intermediary makes it a very attractive alternative to fiat or traditional currencies, particularly if you're looking to send huge amounts internationally. If we think about the existing banking system, if you were looking to send a huge amount of currency from the UK to Australia, you'd potentially pay huge transaction fees and wait up to 5 working days. However, even with Bitcoin that overcomes this problem, you still need to hold a core ledger with accurate information, and this is really where the mining comes in. So, Bitcoin mining has two main purposes. The first is to act as an auditor, and the second is to increase the circulating supply of Bitcoin. And just for absolute clarity, this is not to be confused with the supply, because the Bitcoin supply will always remain at 21 million. This cannot be changed, it cannot be increased, decreased, it will stay the same. But let's look at the auditor part first. So the Bitcoin ledger or blockchain is designed to hold data points around which wallet address, i.e. who, owns what and when. The miners are essentially the auditors of this data, and they use computing power to verify and confirm transactions on the blockchain. Now, to do this, they use computing power to solve a 64-digit mathematical problem known as a hash. And this process is called proof of work. By getting the math problem right and in the fastest time, the miner gets rewarded in Bitcoin for verifying a transaction, and that is then added to the blockchain. Let's look at an example that's probably more everyday. So imagine your friend says, think of a number between 1 and 100. You use guesswork, and it really is just guesswork. And perhaps after 20 attempts, you might get it right. And for doing so, and in the quickest time, you get a small reward. This is what Bitcoin mining is at its crux. Essentially, the computing power, various computers around the world try and solve a 64-digit version of that problem. And the first computer to solve it correctly confirms the block and gets a small mining reward in Bitcoin. Here's an example. So here's all the different computers circled in red are the ones trying to solve the problem, and one of them will get it right and get a small reward, and then it will get added to the blockchain. Now, because this work is spread amongst many users across the globe, Bitcoin is therefore said to be decentralized. Many people suggest that actually the creators of Bitcoin added this system, which with various computing power around the world, to stop a double spending problem, which would essentially create Bitcoin out of thin air, meaning it could be spent twice. Now, with this system, that can't happen because everything is auditable. The second main reason for why mining exists in the Bitcoin network is to increase the circulating supply. So it almost in effect becomes the raw mint, i.e. it's the only new way to release more cryptocurrency into circulation. So if we bring mining back to its original intention of the word, if we look at gold mining or coal, essentially this miner here is digging for the Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin already exists. That miner is not creating Bitcoin. As you can see, it already exists in the ground underneath it, but what he's trying to do is release it in effect into circulation. So that miner, for the effort he's putting in to dig out that Bitcoin or to, process a transaction, he might get to keep a small amount of that Bitcoin, but ultimately passes it on to become part of the greater supply that exists at any moment in time. So you see how they're not actually creating, they're just releasing into the circulating supply. Now you're probably thinking, great, this looks fantastic. How do I become a miner? You get rewards, it's all done by computing power, I don't have to actually do much or know much. Well, actually being a miner is not cheap or easy. Whilst it is certainly becoming more accessible as the crypto markets expand into more everyday life, it still requires significant technical know-how, and computing power and electricity costs are certainly not cheap. Now, this is also complicated by something called a Bitcoin halving event, where essentially the reward for being a miner halves. And this is expected in May 2020. Now, we'll do a separate video on this point, but it's a very predictable moment in time. So actually, the future of mining becomes relatively uncertain, maybe not in the short term, but in the medium to long term. The incentive to become a Bitcoin miner or to even stay as a Bitcoin miner is increasingly questioned. So really what we would need to see in the short to medium term is really greater volumes of Bitcoin transactions, so that the small transaction fee that actually impacts each user becomes a greater amount to the fewer miners that already exist. So we need to consider that as we look forward in our Bitcoin investment strategy. Like, how is the relationship with the miners and the overall benefit to the miners changing over the next few years? Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It was relatively short. It was designed to be very simple and not go in any sort of technical detail. Please give us a thumbs up if you like the content, and obviously subscribe to our channel. We'll be doing more of these in the short term over the coming weeks. And it is not intended to be financial advice in any capacity. It is designed to educate and give our opinions on topics that are both interesting and relevant. Of course, if you are looking to invest in Bitcoin, please do your own research. And if you'd like us to do any more jargon busting videos on our YouTube channel, give us a comment below and we'll certainly look to cover it. Thanks. Bye.